Hey guys, I'm Attila, and I would like to talk about Felfele, which is a social app based exclusively on Swarm as its backend. First of all, I would like to talk about us and why we did this. So basically, the yeah, no, at the moment, I don't know if you are happy with the social app you are using, but I wasn't, and I met with a lot of people who weren't, for different reasons. Uh, some people were worried about privacy. Some people didn't like the fact that most of these apps optimize for engagement, which means that they want to use as much of your attention as it's possible. And after a while, the whole social media experience got to a point where I was just using my phone, scrolling the feed, and then after 30 minutes later, I did not have any idea what I looked at, what was going on, what happened with my friends, and then I just thought that this is not really good, I just wasted 30 minutes. And so, what happened is that I deleted the Facebook app, and then I missed getting some news, I missed getting updates from my friends. So then I started building a simple app where you could follow news, and then I realized that, yeah, I could build an app which could help me to share my updates with my friends. But then it would require me to build a kind of a blogging engine and have a server and this kind of stuff, and why I can do that, but most of my friends are not developers, so obviously you cannot expect anyone to install a server, a blog engine, and then use social media in a way that was used back in the 90s and the 2000s. So we were, basically I met a lot of people with similar issues, and we started talking about it, and then we figured that maybe there is another way to do that, and we started doing some research, and it turns out that there is this new kind of decentralized systems. I found IPFS first, and I found Scuttlebutt, and I also found Swarm. And then I had an ex-colleague who started working with Victor, and then Victor we met with Victor, and they wanted us to work on some app for Swarm, and I said that, hey, I got this idea to build a decentralized app. And we talked, and it turns out that Swarm could be perfect for this. So we started talking about this, and this was about a year ago, and when we met in Ljubljana. And since then, we managed to get a core team of 4 or 5 people to work on this app. And also we have advisors like Victor, and we set up a foundation, and we have Gregor as a supervisor in the foundation, amongst others. And so we started getting some funding, and we started working on this. And basically, we figured out that the basic problems with social networks as they are currently cannot be fixed in the same way that like building a company with VC money and then building it in the same way, because the way how they operate right now is actually in the model of Facebook, how they make money is basically collecting data about you, and then they basically sell your data to advertisers, or like target advertisement to you, and then this makes a lot of money. Actually, this makes so much money that this fueled the biggest growth in the history of companies, that like Facebook and Google and these kind of business models they have had the biggest growth ever in terms of money. So we figured that if we make a for-profit company and if we are serious about making money, we won't be able to compete that kind of business models, because they figured out what's the most profitable, was most profitable and legal way to make money. So if you're serious about making money, then you have to find an alternative. And also we found out that there are a lot of incentivization problem with their models, so they want you, they actually need your attention, and that's actually counterproductive from the point of users. So we wanted to build something else that doesn't require your attention much more than it's necessary. Social media should be a tool to be able to communicate with your family, with your friends, with nobody inside your communication manipulating you to do this or do that or buy some things, as in real life. So we basically want to build a communication tool that works as communication works in real life with your friends. It's like, imagine that how this would be if there would be always someone standing. When you're talking with your friends, there will be someone always standing next to you, listening to your conversation, and then, you talk about this, do you want to buy that? And then, always soliciting stuff that you don't need. We figured that we want to build some kind of different thing. And also, right now we figured that with Swarm, it's possible to build social application in a way that's private, that actually puts you in control. And what happens right now is that Facebook and Google is redefining the meaning of privacy. So they want you to think about privacy that, okay, we take your data and we don't give it to anyone else. But at the first place, they shouldn't take our data. So that's not a good deal because historically, the cost of storing your data was so high that was a blocker for growth for these kind of companies. So imagine that 10 years ago, when you started Facebook, imagine that it would have cost you $10 per month, then nobody would have signed up and then nobody would have used it. But right now, the actual storage costs of data for like a social media app can be like $cents per year. And imagine that I say to you that, okay, you can have privacy, you can have all your data private, and you have to pay 1 cent per year. What's the problem with that? I think everyone could afford this, but the problem with that right now is that there is no way you can pay 1 cent per year because all the credit card companies start charging from commission, and then the minimum amount you can transfer is $2-3. So whatever, we needed some kind of, we still need some solution for this, and hopefully this is going to be Ethereum or other cryptocurrencies. And for the data storage solution, we can use Swarm. And by the way, we just released the alpha version last week. So if you want to try out, this is an app that I will talk about. You can try it and download it right now. So basically, what I want to talk about in this presentation is that how we found out that you can use Swarm for these kind of applications. And one thing we figured out that in a social app, for example on Facebook, you have a lot of friends from different circles of you. You have your childhood friends, you have your family, you have your colleagues, you have your ex-colleagues, you have your exes, and all kinds of people that you don't necessarily want to mix up, and also you might want to differentiate between different hobbies and different interests that you have. So we thought that you might want to have different identities in this app. Right now we have only one, because having different identities introduces also a lot of complexity, but eventually we plan to support multiple identities. So how do we do this on Swarm? Basically, we are creating Ethereum key pairs for that. You have a private key, you have an address, you can be accessed with that. This is not perfect. But at least we know the advantages and disadvantages. Yeah, nobody can memorize their private keys, and if you have several of them, then it's even worse. And then you cannot type it, so you cannot copy it on the clipboard, and then you have to be careful about it. And it's very hard to enforce these rules, even for us, who are aware of the problems. But it's very difficult to explain actually people who are not developers. So yeah, it's something that we expect that some other companies in this space will figure out a solution for this, and we might be able to cooperate with them. For example, Uport is also basing his solution on Ethereum keepers, so that might be it. But for the time being, I think it's a good enough solution. And then it has advantages like you can generate this on the device, you can generate as many as you want, you don't need to have a centralized authority to issue these keepers. And yeah, it has the disadvantages that if you lose it, then nobody will be able to restore it for you. So this is something that needs to be solved from a UX perspective. And then there are, in normal social media apps, we have text, images, links, but you will also have like video and other media that you can create and you can share. And for that, Swarm also provides BZZ uploads, downloads. So that is covered. It works pretty well actually right now. Before it wasn't that stable, but right now it's pretty good and pretty fast actually. After that we have, so when you share your post with others, we call it channels, that you create a channel, you put your posts in it, and then you can share it with others. We imagine that in the future you will be able to create different channels, and based on your different environment topics, people who you want to share with, you can choose to share in different channels. Basically, channels are unidirectional connections, so you put something in it, and whoever follows the data will receive the data, and then they will see the updates. And you can make this symmetric, so if you have a channel and I have a channel and we share our channels, then we can use it for two-way communications. And Swarm feeds are perfect for this. So for the basic use cases of a social media app, Swarm by itself, without blockchain, provides good enough primitives, and then you can get started. Obviously, you will have to, when the incentivization layer will go live, then you will have to be able to somehow get money on this and be able to pay for the fees, or storage and network fees. But yeah, that's another problem that we will solve when we get to this point where Swarm will have this as well. So we will see. And so far we have good experience that the chosen solutions are quite easy to use. So what we created basically is a protocol so that you can these social media primitives that I was talking about, so that you can share posts, images, whatever in channels, and you can follow channels, these kind of things. For this, we created a protocol because we felt that the primitives provided by Swarm are too low level for application developers. So you don't want to deal with the details of feeds, the epochs levels, whatever. For me, it's very exciting, but for an application developer in general, they just want to deal with the abstraction level that they are dealing with, which is like posts and feeds and stuff like that. So what we figured out is that how you can represent this timeline in Swarm feeds. Basically, you have a timeline with posts, and we create 2 Swarm feeds for each channel, let's say. So, or your timeline. one of them is a list of your posts, and that's kind of a linked list, very similar to the timeline structure of Erebos, or the timeline structure that Javier used before. So basically you have a post which has a link to a previous post, so you have a list of posts, and then the latest post link you put in a feed, and then every time you create a new post you update the structure, and that means that if you have a pointer to anywhere in any post in the time, then you are able to go and fetch all the previous posts that happened before. And why that works good for synchronization and for storing your data and sharing it between your devices. Usually we don't use this, but we created another feed, another Swarm feed that we call the recent post feed, which is an optimization for quick access to the updates, where we just simply store in this example, I said n equals 5, we store just 5 latest posts, but actually we store 20, but for illustration it's just 5 in here. And also we have something that usually it's not associated with social apps, but we have a CLI. So, okay, I have to find this. So basically we created a CLI so that you can, one moment, so that we can we can manipulate, test, and access the data from the command line as well. And actually, I want to do this experience that, does this work? So that was a password that I shouldn't see, but good luck remembering it. So this is an example that you can create a post from the command line, and that makes, for developers, that makes very easy to test out features, and you don't have to do everything inside an app. And we did the integration tests with Swarm using this. So I will just run this command real quick because I have 1 minute left, and hopefully it will send you an update. So those of you who have the app installed, then you can just check out the Felfele Foundation feed, and then you can see the update. Oh, cool. It surprised me that demo worked. Okay, so how do I close this? Whatever. So real quick, one more thing, versioning. So yeah, one problem with Swarm and actually all these immutable systems, that you put data out and your data is the API in a sense, that the data is out there, and if you want to access it, then you have to have some code to be able to process it. But imagine that you create new versions, then in order to access it, you will have to have all the transformation code from version 1 to the current version, and this can be problematic. So I don't know how we will solve this. Maybe we will just live with it. And so, yeah, on our roadmap we have private encrypted shared channels, because right now everything what you are sharing is going through a public gateway that actually is not the public network of Swarm, but a public gateway that we operate. And then that's what we want to avoid with the light client or the light node. so that we can have encrypted access and private data. And after that, we can do comments and messaging. We will participate in the hackathon with Luis to work on some group messaging ideas. Then we can have private groups, then we can have multiple identities. And yeah, that's just from the technical standpoint that we want to build up on in this protocol for Swarm. And yeah, if you feel like that if you like this project, you can donate on GitHub, you can contribute on GitHub, you can donate ETH, you can spread the word on any kind of forms that you find on our website. And yeah, basically that's it. Questions?
Any questions?
Just a UX question. How does this actually work? I just downloaded it, trying it. So how does the communication work between channels?
So it's using, we installed a Swarm gateway. Right now, it's every communication goes through it, but the goal is to be part of the global Swarm network eventually. And yeah, it uses, so when you install the app, we create an Ethereum private key for you. You have an address, and then that address you can share with others, and then other people can follow your address. We create a link based on it. You show it to other people. The app recognizes it, follows them, and when you send updates, create a new post, then they will get the updates. They are actually, when it's based on, so Swarm feeds are based on polling. So we are basically, every few hours, we are trying to refresh the feed, and then when there is new data, we show it to you.
The channel is encrypted? Or?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, so this is in the alpha version. You consider anything public and consider anything that disposable, so you may use your data, or we might do a Swarm migration to a new version, and that might lose all your data. That's alpha. That's a disclaimer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.